Well, Father Brown, honored to have you back on the show. How you been?
I'm on top of the world. Things are good. Things are really good. The school year is starting, and it's my favorite thing in the world is to have a bunch of high school students here at Jesuit High School working hard, getting through the year.
How long you been here?
I've been here since the fall of 2012. I've been at Jesuit High School. I took 1 year away during a period that they call tertianship. The Jesuits make you go and get an extra year of formation, and I spent that year in Ireland and Iraq, and then came right back to the same place that I was. So.
Wow. Okay. And you've been all over the world as a Jesuit then?
The Jesuits tend to do that. Yeah, they tend to do that. The Jesuits are everywhere, and so the Jesuits want every Jesuit to have some experience of the worldwide Society of Jesus. The Jesuits, a sense of the larger mission that we're all on. So
now, Father Brown, I'm pretty sure you know when you say the Jesuits are everywhere, you just confirmed confirmed every conspiracy theorist out there about the Jesuits.
Right. So there are I think a little over 16,000 Jesuits worldwide. So we really are everywhere, and it's a great thing to know that just about anywhere that I go, I'm going to run into a Jesuit somewhere. So.
Is that right? Wow. So Iraq, what was that like, by the way?
So Iraq, I was working in a refugee camp right about the time that ISIS was, the tide was beginning to turn against ISIS. So this is 2017-ish, 2016, 2017. And it was amazing. Some of the best Christians in the world are out there. So
wow,
I loved it.
Did you learn Arabic?
Did I learn Arabic? I learned how to say, Shai harla asukar shukran, like
shukran, yeah.
Yeah, so I learned how to say, I'd like some hot tea without sugar, please, things like this. So, mashallah.
Mashallah. What was the liturgy like there?
Oh yeah, so that's really amazing. I was mostly around Syriac Catholics,
okay.
Right? There were some Chaldean Catholics, but I was mostly around Syriac Catholics, which is a Petrine rite, I think. There were a lot of similarities to the Latin rite, and then a lot of things I was just hanging in there by the skin of my teeth. So
any Eastern Catholics that you ran into there?
So yeah, those Syriac Catholics are all Eastern Catholics. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think at one point the Syriac were. You'd have to look this up, but I think at one point they were Nestorian, and then they came back. So.
Yeah, wow. So that's fascinating. Yeah, but that was an eye-opening experience.
Definitely, especially to see what it's like for Christians to be persecuted, right? To have their lives threatened for being Christians is it does something for the faith, right? I think our faith is built around that very concept. And so to be around Christians who had that same spirit as those early Christians who must have been hiding from the Roman authorities and from everybody else, that's really a powerful thing to see our faith come alive in the way that it was, I don't want to say in the way that it was intended, but in its natural environment,
What was the thing that stood out the most to you? Any particular story that comes to mind?
Oh, I have so many stories from when I was out there. I'll tell you one real quick. I was at the Easter liturgy that they had there, and I was participating to the best that I could in the liturgy. It was all in a language that I didn't understand. But you can catch on to what parts of the Mass you're in when they're saying Cadusa, Cadusa, Cadusa. They're saying Holy, 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 things like this. So at the end of the liturgy, I walk out of the makeshift church they had set up in the refugee camp there, and I beelined it straight to the Peshmerga guard, right, who had been watching us, because you watch on the news and you often hear of these terrible things that happen, bombings, things like that often happen at Easter liturgies. So we had gotten through our liturgy and nothing bad had happened. So I beelined it over to to sort of the head of the Peshmerga guard that were there. So he would be a Kurdish Muslim that was there, and he didn't speak much English. But I walked over there and I immediately told him, "Thank you so much. Thank you for keeping us safe." And everybody's singing these songs about the resurrection, the resurrection, the resurrection. And he pulls out his phone and he starts showing me photographs of dead ISIS people, that he had loaded up his phone with photographs, wartime photographs, and sort of was like showing off this is what happens when people mess with the Kurdish guard, this is what happens when they mess with you in war. And I just remember thinking the juxtaposition of hearing these songs that I know are about the resurrection, and seeing it right in the middle of the context of a very ugly, ugly battle. And what an amazing thing that was that made those the songs about the resurrection just stick out that much more as true and real, you know.
I imagine that's a life-changing experience.
It was for me. It certainly was for me. It changed the way that I pray a little bit. It changed the way that I think about what my life is good for. You know, it changed a little bit for me. It made me more indifferent to whatever might happen, right? So, and indifferent in a very holy way, right? In a good way. Not that I don't care, but that I recognize that God might call any of us to a difficult life, sure. And to be able to say yes to that, because I was right there to experience all these other Catholics, these other Christians that were living exactly that same way. So that's what I think it changed for me.
Yeah. Now tell me a little bit about the school here and what all you do here with Catholic education, a little bit about your background on that.
Sure. So Jesuit High School is an all-boys high school, Catholic high school. It's been around since 1847, so a little over 175 years. Wow. It's in New Orleans, right? So there are a lot of very good Catholic schools in New Orleans. It's one of the best things about the city, I think, is that our Catholic education here in town is really some of the best you're going to find anywhere. Jesuit's a very high-performing school. We have just under 1,250 young men here on average every year. We are grades 8 through 12. And, it's great to be at a place where you know there's always going to be a lot of hard work to do, right? So every year you get a new crop of young guys walk in the door, and they don't deserve a diploma, right? They're not ready, they're not finished. You have so much work to do. But year after year, we are able to get young guys to go from fresh in the door and having everything in the world to learn, and then walking out the door where we're very, very proud of what they've become, where they really understand what God is calling them to, where they have built up the will to be able to carry that out. And it's just amazing to see. It's great to be part of that, and to be part of what parents are doing to raise their children. To even play a role in that is a pretty privileged thing, you know.
What stands out to you the most about being a Catholic educator here? I mean, what have you learned about being an educator?
Well, okay, so I've learned everything, right? So everything I know I had to learn, right? This is not a vocation that I thought was going to be part of my vocation as a Jesuit. I joined the Jesuits only because I just felt God calling me to the Jesuits. I had no intention of ever working in a high school. I really didn't think that I would be any good at it. I didn't think that this would be my, where they would ask me to serve. But they've asked me to serve here longer than they've asked me to serve anywhere else. So I'm very happy for that opportunity. But what have I learned? For me, I've learned that we've got to fight the good fight, right? We've got to fight the good fight. And Jesuit High School is a place that has been fighting the good fight, preserving all the good things, being careful not to buy into all the bad things, and watching secondary education in most places do its best to imitate higher education. And for Jesuit High School here to say, no, our job is to prepare you for higher education. And in many cases, that means armoring young men up to be able to defend their own faith, to believe in God, to believe what God has called them to be able to excel, to recognize and see God in all of the things that they're going to learn, rather than say that, the more I learn, the less I believe, for Jesuits especially. Notice the more you learn, the more you're glorifying God, right? The more you're becoming that man that God made you to be. So we see our role here in this process as a very, very important role.
What is it like being a Catholic here in New Orleans? Do you get a whole lot of hostility? Do you get a lot of nasty looks when you go out with the clerical collar? I mean, what is it like?
Yeah, not in New Orleans. So New Orleans is a very Catholic city, right? It's a very Catholic city. I want to say it's just slightly. I haven't looked at the statistics recently, but I believe it's near 50% Catholic as a city. So it's got a very Catholic history. I mean, think about it. Our NFL team, it's the New Orleans Saints, right? Yeah. Our NBA team, it's the Pelicans, which is a symbol of Jesus, right? It's on the state flag. The pelican is on the state flag. The bishop here in town is as important a figure for this city as the mayor, as anybody else. And so this city is very warm to what Catholics believe and how we practice, right? Maybe our biggest holiday is a holiday that wouldn't exist if it weren't for our faith, right? Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras doesn't exist unless you have Lent, right? And Lent, we don't have Lent unless we have Easter. So there's this city is very warm to Catholicism, very understanding of Catholicism. In fact, I think most people are proud of it. At the same time, it exists right next to a lot of things that you might have a hard time understanding how it's religious, right? There's a lot of debauchery here, right? People go to New Orleans to have a really good time. And I think Catholics can do that. Catholics can have a really good time, but also we'll be there on Wednesday getting those ashes on our foreheads. You know, we're still a very Catholic city for sure.
Hey, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next part of this interview, or go ahead and get access to the entire full-length video by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Reason and Theology. You'll be supporting my channel so I can continue to do what I'm doing, and you'll get early access to the entire video. And don't forget, hit the like button and the subscribe button. See you later. God bless.